right, I am here with John Gerlitz, and he is going to talk about how he helps to break down projects with students and kind of keep track of all of those kids and where they're at in the process. So I noticed that you kind of had this timeline set up of like, this is where you should be, and if you're not here, I noticed that you stopped with each section and you said things like, did you notice that I gave you this feedback? Remember that you go into that. So then how you kind of give that global feedback, how are you keeping track of where kids are in the process? How are you intervening early?
Okay, so a little bit on that. With the project on my direction sheet, besides having a rubric, I typically have on the front side under directions, the project is broken into steps. So like step 1, we're doing this. Step 2, we're doing this. Step 3, step 4.
So why do you think that those steps are important, or how does that impact the way that students are moving through the project?
So this is part of that like universal design of learning differentiation piece where many of our kids benefit from chunking big tasks down into individual parts. And so part of how I try to set up directions for a project is literally cutting those directions into like 4 separate parts with lines cutting it right through it, so on and so forth.
And so especially kids with executive functioning issues, or kids who are easily overwhelmed with a project.
Right. And
letting them know just this part now.
And so like on a given day of a project, say we're on day 2, I'll have a PowerPoint on the big screen that says nice and broad for students, look at your direction sheet. Your goal is to be done with step 2 today. Along with laying out steps for project and chunking down into like, more manageable pieces, part of my goal then becomes, as all of this becomes pretty self-directed for them to read the steps and follow the directions, I'm then walking around to my individual students, kneeling down, double-checking their progress. Meet with every one of my students at least once during that class period. And so, for example, I have a roster right here that I print off for my different classes, and I'll try to cover up the names. You can see at the top I have like a step of something that we're doing, and then checklists going down for did they do it, did they not. You might see a little bit of like yellow. That is signaling to me that those students are falling behind. I might need to be outreaching to home to give them an update that, hey, they need to work on this some at home.
Yeah, so you're not grading this at that moment. You're just helping to keep track. You're monitoring where they're at in the process.
But part of the idea of doing this is if I'm wise about it, I can set this up in a way that helps me with grading in the future. So for instance, you'll see at the top here, I have these things called CRAP tests, CRAP 1, CRAP 2, CRAP 3. Okay, so what a CRAP test is it's a way to verify that a source of information you're using is an authoritative good source. That it comes from like somebody who studies that topic and not some random blog you found on, Quora.com or something. So, and I even have a standard that says I'm supposed to evaluate if students know or can differentiate between authoritative versus non-authoritative sources. So this is how I do that. I target that standard with these CRAP tests, and I can mark it down. Like, are they doing them? Can they show me that they did it right and they have it complete? Check. When it comes up on the rubric for grading them, I have to just look at this sheet, and I can do that part of the rubric very fast.
So you've got this information here. You're also kind of looking to see where trends are. Are you prioritizing the students that are behind on a step?
Yeah, usually. So if I'm getting some of these yellow highlights on the sheet, like somebody isn't caught up with step 2 in the class, my goal is still to try to meet with all of my students, but in the class, those are like the first kids that I'm going to go and talk to and see, okay, did you make any progress with this last night? Did you get some of the stuff done? Because that just gives me extra warning signs or helps me validate whether or not they're getting back on track, or whether or not I need to keep reaching out to home and, or figure out ASAP or something.
And so when we talk about knowing like where all of our students are, like this is a really clear system that you figured out for yourself that, again, it's not a grade right now. It's just helping to make sure that all students are making progress and that you are intervening early. So when you think about this in relation to Encore or MTSS and the way that we've done it in the past, do you feel like this is a strategy that is helping you, like this monitoring tool is helping you in that regard?
Well, it helps me know if I'm going to plan for like an encore that week. And granted, I don't do encore every single week, but maybe every couple of weeks. This helps me know that if I have an encore coming up, these are some of the kids that I need to prioritize, and I need to lay it out like this is what you need to work on during encore time. And when I've done a couple of encores in the past, this would be an example of when I'm getting on Go Guardian. I already know the students that are falling behind because I've been keeping track of them, have them highlighted in yellow, and they're probably the first ones I'm giving individual messages to on Go Guardian. Your goal for today's encore, you have to work on this step.
Yeah, so using that as a communication tool also. Right. And we can talk more about that too another time, about how to use messaging on Go Guardian too, because I know that can be a really good tool. So this is something that's super easy to, you thinking about breaking it down, holding students accountable. And then the other thing that I heard you say too, I remember you going to a student saying that isn't going to be the priority right now. This one is your priority. So even helping students to recognize, like, you're not going to hit every single thing necessarily.
Right.
So it's kind of eliminating that all or nothing thinking and just incrementally, moving the needle forward just a little bit.
Yep.